If you tell me that my students can't learn, I'm going to invite you to our classroom mocktail. Hi, how you doing? You look lovely. Mocktail. Fantastic. Schaefer, will you take this for me?
If you tell me my students have too many behavior issues for highly effective co-teaching, I'll invite you to our classroom. Drinks, ladies?
And if you're going to tell me that the standards are just too difficult for all students to learn, guess what? I'm going to invite you to my classroom. Hi, how you doing? You look lovely. One of these. Mocktail. Hi, how you doing?
Sorry, I saw an old face. I mean a familiar face. Tell me our schedule is too restrictive for highly effective co-teaching, and I'll invite you to our school.
And if you're going to tell me that this is just all too much, it's too hard, too difficult, too much to consider, we're going to ask you to come, and we're going to ask you to see our classroom.
I used to have like bad grades with single teachers in middle school, and I used to have trouble. And now in co-taught classes, they like have like groups and stuff. They could teach you one by one in and stuff.
Like if some students are behind, they could cut off most of the class and then move some class that is moving forward in the other class that could like teach it more slower.
If a teacher is talking to another student, there's another one that could come and help me if I don't understand something.
My grades are just better because I get a better understanding of what we're learning because I get more help.
Completely just made my grades go up.
Okay. All you are doing is labeling. Partner A, you are labeling.
This year, I feel like I'm doing better than I did last year with grades and everything.
Some of the people that are frustrating and needs help, it will change their lives. It will be a game changer for them.
If you don't like talking out loud, you could ask for help separately.
You gotta move though. You gotta move around. Actually point to the customer.
This we're just evaluating.
So we just write
Yeah, we're replacing.
I was having trouble in math, so the teacher kept on teaching the class while the other teacher went out and taught me like things I had trouble with.
This is the function. The function is p of x equals 4x minus 2.
It's a good idea because your students will have better grades, better opportunities and stuff, and you'll learn a lot more.
But now, since I'm in this class, it makes more sense and more understanding and less frustrating.
Just having two teachers makes my whole school career better.
So my name is Joseph Garten. This is my co-teacher, Mike Schaefer.
And this is my co-teacher, Joseph Garten.
Yeah, and we are here to talk to you guys about the bromance that is co-teaching. And that's right, I use the term bromance. Mike, how was your experience coming into my environment?
It was awesome. Joe had a desk set up for me. We had a quick conversation, discovered both of us were avid readers, and I already had a computer set up, and it was great.
And I wish I could say the same thing. Whenever a school does co-teaching models, the number one problem you're going to have is with the general ed teacher. Always. Why? As general ed teachers, and I'm speaking to some of you, we are control freaks. I have spent years and hours working on my curriculum, day in and day out, grading. I have dealt with these kids for so long. I have spent a fortune on my classroom. I have plants and curtains and other doodads that make my classroom look engaging, and I have spent all of this effort, and then here comes my administration to tell me that I have a new teacher, a new desk, a new phone, a new computer in that corner of the room, the corner where I store all the boxes that don't fit in my contract-mandated armoire. Because, of course, we're also all hoarders, and we can't throw anything away because I will use it again one day. So I decided I was going to put on my big boy pants, and I was going to be the boss. And so I wrote a list of 10 to 15 pet peeves and non-negotiables that Mr. Schaefer was going to have to abide to. And I marched over to his desk, and I slammed them down, and I said, "Can you kick it with me, or you're going to catch me outside? How about that?" And he looked at my list, and I asked what his pet peeves were, and although I kind of regret how assertive and aggressive that was, it did do a really important thing for us, which was open this level of dialogue. And one of the first things I learned about co-teaching was that you have to communicate regularly. You need to know your other teacher. I needed to know what his pet peeves were. He needed to know what drove me crazy. But on top of that, the first thing we got from that meeting is we both realized how much we love our students. Like, love them deeply, and we'll bend over backwards to do whatever we can to make these kids successful. All kids, no matter what walk of life they come from, no matter what their background is. And so from that, we were able to move forward. We were able to build trust. We were able to build knowledge. I was able to realize that Mr. Schaefer taught at a middle school. I had never done so. So teaching a freshman English class, he's able to bring in a perspective from the middle school world that I don't know, a background for these students. I had taught juniors and seniors and done some work at the university. I had an idea of rigor and relevance that needed to occur in this 9th grade classroom. And those two of the things coming together allowed us to build a working relationship. And most importantly were our PLCs. If you want to see the best PLCs, and I don't mean to offend your schools, but if you want to see the best PLCs, they happen at Sparks High School. Our administrators have gone to lengths to protect our PLC times. We have all of our PLC time. We never have whole school meetings during a PLC time. Not one. I get all 4 in a month, sometimes 5. And as a department leader, I'm able to meet with my co-teacher. We have PLCs together during our common prep. We go have PLCs in the hallway with the other English teachers in the hallway. And then during our PLC time, we're spending a good hour, hour and a half really looking at student data, seeing where our students are. I can tell you right now that I have 16 freshmen that can't identify a theme in a text out of 265. How many schools can say that? And I know that. I know the number, and all my department knows the number. And that comes from effective co-teaching. That comes from our conversation, our dialogue, and our understanding of trust. And what you just heard me talk a lot about were, and actually our PLCs are so great. One of my teachers, my hero, the reason I'm a teacher, Lori Frias, she came to me the other day and she's like, I know this is going to sound really cheesy, but sometimes it feels like I'm going to start crying in a PLC because we're in one of those inspirational teacher movies and it's real life, but I know that's cheesy, so I like hold that back. And so that was kind of a little heartwarming moment for me because sometimes it does feel that way. I'll look up and I'm like, wow, we're having that conversation. Like,
we're standing and delivering.
Yeah, this is real life. But with all of these things, cannot happen without the support of admin. You've heard me say that 1,000 times. So if you can't get admin on board and you don't have a supportive admin, I can't help you. Nothing we're going to say today is going to be effective. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, for one night only, CJ Waddell.
Hello. Yes. We do support our co-teachers. We do support them very much, and we're very proud of them. We're proud of the journey that they've taken over the past 4 years to get where they are today. So our first year, 4 years ago, it was a different story. We sent 5 teams, 10 teachers. I'm getting ahead of myself. The first year, we put 5 teams, 10 teachers together and said, teach. And it was okay, but we didn't get out of that for our students what we really had hoped to get. The following year we said, okay, they need a little training. So we sent our 5 teams, 10 teachers to a Stetson training, and we got a few things, but there was a little pushback because we were the only high school there with a whole bunch of elementary schools, and they felt like everything that was being given to them was for the elementary school level. So they bought a few things back, they used a few things, but still it wasn't what we wanted. So last year, our 3rd year, we said, okay, we need some more training, but we're going to do it at Sparks High School for Sparks High School. And we invited to our training all of our special education teachers, all of our teachers that are in the EL department, and all of their core subject co-teachers. And we sat down and learned together, and that's when things started happening for us. We started doing it the Sparks High School way, and things were a lot better. But the struggle is real. We have a lot of challenges. We have to battle, of course, our master calendar, our master schedule, Sometimes the pairings aren't great. You see a great pairing up here. Sometimes they aren't so great because we didn't think about it. Shared space, you heard that was an issue at first. Common planning time and prep time, had to work that into the master schedule. And they weren't protected. Anytime we didn't have a sub cover for a class, they'd just pull a co-teacher and we'd have them teach, which isn't co-teaching, right? And finally, one of our big things, as you've already heard, they weren't going to our Early Release Wednesday collaborative meetings together. They each had their own separate groups they were going to. Special education, EL, English, math, what have you. So there were a lot of struggles at first. Fortunately, we have lifesavers, and we started to think outside the box. And we decided, okay, let's select our teams real thoughtfully. Let's try to think about who would work best together, who has this kind of expertise that can kind of complement what this person has. We have common shared space, which at first was very difficult. Some of our teachers didn't really want that second desk computer and phone in their classroom, but they got used to it. Common preps for all of our co-teachers. And then equal responsibilities. Not exactly the same responsibilities in some cases. They have different expertise, but equal responsibilities nevertheless. And they were protected. Now, if we have a sub that doesn't pick up a class or don't have anybody to cover, our first reaction is not, oh, there's 2 people in that English class, grab one of them. They're the very last resort, if at all. And finally, our collaborative meetings, all of our EL and English teachers and our special education English teachers attend the English PLCs, the math teachers, the science teachers, and yes, this year, our social studies teachers too, because we have co-taught social studies class too. So we kind of got on track, and here's a little bit of what it looks like today.
It creates a learning environment that addresses special needs, high achievers, low achievers. With 2 teachers in the classroom, there's so many avenues to reach kids that don't necessarily get reached.
Our ability to differentiate, to be able to scan the room and walk around and help students in a much more efficient manner with 2 people in the classroom, and to reach out to those students and to be able to differentiate the learning. So if a student is down here as far as their understanding of a certain concept, I may be working with this student and a group of students, whereas Miss Valerie will walk around and she'll be able to take care of some of the students that have already reached a certain standard, and then we're moving on. So I would say a great success would be differentiation within the classroom. It's just collaborating, working together, and having thoughtful discussions again about how we're going to, again, improve the achievement in our classroom for our students.
It's double the help, it's double the support, it's double the instruction. It's 2 ways of hearing the same instruction, maybe from a different voice. Might make more sense to them.
They do get more help, and then they do get more support, and that, you don't have just one math teacher in there really like pumping up the math and showing how much they care, but you have 2.
We get to work together, and we get to bounce ideas off of each other, and we get to do more for our students. There are 2 of us, so we get more for the 2 of us, and I think it's just super beneficial for the students, and I think they get a better feel of success. Today we were sitting in here planning for the next few weeks, and we were kind of like, oh this, and Mr. Garten had said, oh, this is what I do with this, and then Mr. Schaefer had kind of attributed. So even though I only have Schaefer in the room, I'm kind of technically co-teaching. Like, there's 3 of us.
We can figure out what our strengths are. Yes. And like the other day when we were doing the books, the codex. That was so great of you. And so I kind of like, okay, Ms. Trey, you're going to do that, and I'm going to help the kids because that's your strength. Yes. So I kind of like the idea of figuring out what our strengths are, and you can go with that, or I could go with mine. But we both co-teach all of the lessons.
Exactly. So with 2 of us there, we're able to catch those little moments, I think, quicker. When a kid is struggling, I'm hoping we can nip it in the bud quicker than if just one of us was there.
So it's still not perfect, but we're getting there. We still have some challenges. For example, this year when we lost some allocations and had to reorganize our master schedule, we actually have, instead of complete pure teams where teachers are together all day long, we have 2 split teams. And you saw a little bit about that on the video. Mr. Garton shares Mr. Schaefer with Ms. Caskey, but they PLC together, they have prep together, and like she said, it's like having 3 people in the classroom at the same time. We have that same situation in science with a teacher that splits. In addition, some of our special education teachers and our EL teachers don't get to teach full-time the full day through because we need them. We need them for EL mainstream classes. We need them for special education SSTS classes. But when they are in there, those 1, 2, or 3 periods a day, they are working equally with their teachers and doing the same things. So we're still working a little, we're being flexible, but we do have a lot of celebrations that we need to discuss. So, first of all, as you saw in the student video, our students report that they feel more successful, and we all know that that's a great thing. They're getting better grades. Some of the kids are having the best grades they've ever had, and they'll tell you about it. And our teachers, they report that they're learning from each other, they're becoming better teachers, and that they're building stronger relationships with each other and with their students. So we have a lot of celebrations. Here's our recipe, our co-taught tonic up here. Right now we have 28 trained co-teachers and 37 sections of co-taught classes. We have algebra, geometry, English 1, English 2. We have biology, and as of this year, we also have world history. And you add in the ELL expertise, the SPED expertise, and here's what you get. This year, we looked at our data, and for the first time, we had 10 sections of co-taught geometry last year, and we actually went up from 14% of our students earning credit in geometry in 1 year to 41%. Our EL students... Thank you. Our EL students at the same time in their geometry classes had a rise of 5% in credit attainment. And overall, because this is for all kids, overall we went up in geometry 6% in 1 year in our credit attainment in geometry. And we think that's due to having 10 sections of co-taught geometry. It helps. So, thank you so much. So these celebrations are great. What you're hearing from the students and what you hear from the teachers, the numbers that we just saw are awesome. But the individual stories is where it really makes a difference to us, when kids tell us things that are important to them. And all of our teachers have these stories, and I believe Mike's going to share one with you.
I think we've all had Carlos in our classroom. Carlos came to me not quite ready for high school. Maybe the label man-child or immature or even the dreaded behavior problem. But Carlos is the type of kid that is very, very difficult to stay angry with at any length of time. He's not malicious, just more mischievous. He has a twinkle in his eye, and you're like, okay, this kid's really fun, until he comes in your classroom, and you're like, okay, you're kind of destroying stuff. So we struggled, but I kept at it, and the flexibility of having Joe in the classroom gave me a lot more time to build kind of an in-depth relationship with him. I would love to tell you that it was a couple conversations, and all of a sudden Carlos is on the honor roll, but I think we know that that's not true. So first semester goes by and Carlos doesn't earn any credit. So as we're back for second semester, his behavior's starting to decrease, and I'm seeing him at a table watching his phone before class. And I was like, hey, what are you watching there? You're laughing. He's like, I can't show you, it's too funny. I was like, too funny? Well, now I'm intrigued. He's like, does that mean you're angry? I said, no, it means I'm interested. It turns out Carlos was watching a video about goats. Goats doing yoga. And he was right, it was pretty funny. So Carlos couldn't really read what we were asking him to read. But he would read about goats. So read about goats we did. And then when I ran out of goat stories, I found more animal stories. Fast forward to, I think, the last month of the school year, and the 8th graders are coming to visit from his former school. And they're a little bit boisterous themselves. And I fully expect Carlos to join it. Fully expect it. But as I'm sitting there, I notice him doing something. I think alcoholics probably call it a moment of clarity. For Carlos, it was like a moment of realization. He was looking at where he was just a few short months ago and kind of got a vision of where he needed to go. Carlos is always well-groomed, great family, so it was easy to stick with him. This year, second weekend, a teacher that I think has one year left before retirement, not the most enthusiastic, but came up to me with tears in her eyes. So I was, of course, immediately concerned. Hey, are you okay? She's like, I just heard a really wonderful story from one of your former students, Carlos. And I was like, oh, yeah? So yeah, he said that he wouldn't have earned anything if not for you and Mr. Garten for sticking with him and making that effort, repeatedly effort. I would love to tell you that Carlos's academic career is on this path, and he is. Actually, when I checked his grades, he's got all B's. So I don't think that there will be I think there will be some valleys and peaks in Carlos's career, but I know for a fact that due to me and Joe, he's got a lot better trajectory than without us.
And a fun little insight about Carlos is actually yesterday we gave this at the LTL meeting, we gave our talk, and Carlos found me in the hallway, and he's like, did you see my grades? And I said, yeah, I heard about your grades, and I'm like, guess what we did today? And he's like, what? I said, we talked about you. Really? I said, yeah, we talked about your grades, and he's like, cool. And then he sped off down the hallway. So it was kind of nice to run into Carlos after hearing Schaefer give that kind of talk, and so that was brilliant. We have some invitations for you.
I feel better with the microphone. Can you hear me? Now, I do want to invite you guys. We do have some upcoming trainings, but they've filled up. Nevertheless, I would love very much to, if you want to come see how co-teaching works at our school, give me a call, email me, and we can set up some visits to some of our classes so you can see how it looks. We'd love to share with all of you.
And kind of to end our note today, teaching, as we all know, is really, really hard. We do it day in and day out, and we struggle. So today we want to leave you with this. Why not make it a double? Thank you. Have a good morning.
All right. Hold on. Thank you so much.
Question.
Can we just also acknowledge that we have Principal Kevin Carroll from Sparks High School, who's here today supporting his team as he always does. And also acknowledge that this presentation was created by the team you see on the stage in addition to their regular responsibilities of teaching, co-teaching, and all that goes along with that. So we really do appreciate all the work, and CJ, thank you so much. We would like to open it up now. If you have one or two quick questions for our team up on the stage, I'll bring you the mic, and you can ask that question, and they will try to answer it.
Don't be shy. It's all right. You can ask.
Oh, yes.
Be on it.
I was wondering if any of those SPED kids were CLS level kids, because I push in with CLS kids.
So yes, so we do have a couple of CLS kids, and we have quite a big influx of SIP kids that we're able to, but we do have CLS.
Did everybody hear that? The answer was yes. We have CLS students in that classroom. And
yeah,
SIP.
We have SIP and CLS. Right now, currently, in our freshman co-taught, we have a CLS student. Last year, we had 2 or 3.
Okay, great. Is there one more question for Sparks High?
Don't be shy. You can do it.
I'll make eye contact with you. There we go.
How big of an impact is social emotional learning in your classroom?
That's a really good question. So Joe does a good job with social emotional learning. In fact, he was kind of on the front end of that, doing stuff like that, even before it was like district mandated. So I do think that making the connections with students is something Joe is awesome at, building that relationship and rapport. I think both of us. I mean, we have a lot of different strengths and weaknesses, but I think both of us really value the relationship factor of this job and building relationships with students as opposed to, this is my classroom, we're going to do it this way type of mentality.
And on a co-teaching level, I think one of the benefits you get is there's time and space for it. I know sometimes when we get these things from the district, like, where am I supposed to squeeze that in? Because
that's what I'm worried about.
I have X, Y, and Z to get through with these students, but when we have a co-teaching model, there is often times when we can split the class. I'm doing a lesson that might be English-oriented, heavy in SEL, and Schaefer might be getting some of these rudimentary skills, picking up those bottom skills and lifting these kids up, and then we'll either flip-flop or rotate or do centers. And when you have an extra body in the room, it gives you more of those opportunities to be creative with the structure. It's not both of us teaching always simultaneously. Sometimes it's divide and look at different sets of skills for what the students have or what they might need, or we want to integrate SEL. So I'll take a bunch, he'll take a bunch, and we'll kind of do some of these activities on a smaller scale.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Me and Joe are really different in terms of how we approach students, like the things that we're interested in. Like, some students are interested in the things that Joe's interested in, and a lot of students are interested like sports and things like that. So there's a lot of two ways to build relationships, and I think we both take advantage of that.
I always tell my kids I don't sweat. It's something, the only sweat I have are sweaters. So if it's something that involves sweat or exercise, that's your, go see Schaefer. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sparks High School. Let's give them another big round of applause.
Thank you.
And for the record, that is sparkling cider, right?
Yes,
okay.
Not this one.
Not that one.